Hey everybody, how's it going? Marcos Villegas for Fight Up TV here in Los Angeles, being joined with Vergil Ortiz, who has this fight coming up against Sergey Bohacek August 10th in Las Vegas. Vergil, you did a little bit of a workout. One thing I did notice, man, and I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't seen you in the gym a lot and I haven't had a chance to go and see you a lot. The sound of your punches, it sounds pretty like thudding. Have you noticed, like, as you moved up in weight, that your power has gone a lot more?
I think I've learned how to utilize it more without actually trying to throw hard. You know what I mean? Like at first, when I would do this media workouts and stuff, I'll go hard. Like, I'm trying to impress people. Now I'm just like whatever. But like I found a way to hit hard without actually throwing hard. You know what I mean?
Have you noticed overall, though, like in this weight class at 154, that you are feeling stronger, like a lot better overall, more athletic?
Hell, for sure. Yeah, I feel a lot stronger physically, mentally too as well. I feel confident. So it makes moving up to 154 made a big difference.
The last 6 months, you've been pretty active. Now you're getting this fight against Bohacek, a title shot. It sounds cliche, like how's camp going? How's this opportunity? But is it any different because there is some sort of a title attached to it?
No, it's the same thing. It's we already work hard. I mean, what else do we have to do? I don't know. There's no special thing. It's just work hard. Just stick to my things and just be disciplined, and that's really it. That's what's got me here.
Yeah. Is there any point where like you don't feel motivated? Like, how do you combat that, like in the camp?
No, not really. It's I will say that sometimes like an opponent will cause me to feel unmotivated. I don't want to offend people, so I'm not going to name them. But there were times where I thought I was going to fight this guy, and I was like, fuck yeah. And then, no, you're going to fight this guy. I'm like, God, fuck. Okay, well, let's just get this one over with, So that can be demotivating. But this fight, I'm very motivated. This is the most motivated I've ever been.
Really? Why is that?
Because it's a, how do I say, interim world title. But, I mean, it's a belt. It's a big belt. They look like the rest of them. So I'm very motivated about that. We got a tough opponent that we're going against. Another motivating factor. And it's just, I'm fighting for the third time. I haven't fought more than twice since 2019. It's been a while, things are just finally turning around. I want to be active. I've been asking to be active. Sometimes opponents fall out. It's really sometimes it's just out of our control. You know what I mean? But we're here, we're ready, and we're just taking advantage of it.
Have you kind of come to, because you said it's out of your control, so have you kind of like learned to like just deal with that, deal with situations like that, like injury? Well, it's out of my control. Like, it happened for a reason. Opponent fell out, happened for a reason. No point in dwelling, no point in stressing over it, no point in beating myself up over it.
You said it the best. There's really no point in dwelling over it. I learned a saying from back then. It's if you can do something about it, then don't worry about it. Yeah. And if you can't do anything about it, then don't worry about it because it's not in your hands. You know what I mean? So the point is just to try to be as stress-free as possible. The time will come, and that's just how I've been taking my life. Yeah.
How familiar have you become with Bohacek now?
I mean, in terms of boxing, I'm very familiar with him. We've shared a lot of rounds. As a person, there's a language barrier, so I don't really know him on a personal level, but boxer, I know him pretty well.
In terms of that, then, the boxing part, because you know him so well, what kind of advantage does that give you? What type of fight does that now give you because of that?
I wouldn't say that I get any advantage because he also was learning from the sparrings as well, So it's, I wouldn't say that there's any advantage. I would just say that we're very familiar with each other, and there's not going to be I don't think there's going to be a filling out round. You know what I mean? Yeah, like with Ryan and Devin. I knew that the fight was going to be angry. I just didn't know it was going to turn out like that. But they just picked up right where they left off. There was no filling out round. They just like, all right, I know what you got. You know what I got. Let's just go.
Speaking of Ryan, I don't want to beat a dead horse over it, but he did tweet at you maybe like a week, 2 weeks ago. You responded, your dad responded. Just what'd you make of that interaction that you and your dad had with him?
There's really nothing new else to say, nothing else has happened since then. I really don't have anything to talk about. There's really nothing new to talk about, I got people saying like, oh, you're calling out Ryan. Like, I'm not calling out Ryan. Like he called me out, and I'm just replying back. or if interviewers ask me the question, then I answer the question, you know. But, you know, people are just dumb. Oh, I'm sorry.
Your dad doesn't think that fight ever happens, and he said that if it does happen, it's because he's looking for a way to like cash out in his career.
It could be. I think it's a little unrealistic if I'm being honest. You know, he was like 135. He moved it to 140, made it like probably one time, and to fight at 154 against me, because I'm not gonna down at 147. I moved up for a reason. You know, people want me to fight these 147 pounders, 140 pounders when I moved up for a reason. You know, but it's highly unrealistic. You know, if he's really like, if he wants to do it, then we'll see. You know, but as far as my hopes, because I've got my hopes up for a lot of fights and they didn't happen, my hopes aren't very high right now for that fight. You know what I mean?
We is gone for a year, and maybe in that year, you know, he gains weight and he can't make 43 anymore. He can't make 47 anymore, and he lands on 54. But in a year from now, I don't know, you could be at middleweight, right?
I just moved to the 154, so I don't think so. I don't.
Hey, well, there we go. Maybe you guys meet at 54.
I still doubt it, bro. He's not gonna skip a whole weight class. You know, you never know. He's a big guy, but I mean, I don't think so. Realistically, I don't think so.
The other topic that me personally, I just hate talking about because, you know, me from an athletic background, I always like sparring or practice is practice, you know. But I haven't seen the interview, but I saw clips of Madrimov saying something about you in sparring. So for our viewers that may be asking, like, hey, Marcos, ask him about this, you know, what's happening with all that?
So look, he did an interview with Snow Queen. Yeah. So I obviously I can't listen to it. I'm just reading the subtitles, and you know, he said that they asked him about me, and he was like, oh yeah, he's a good fighter, this and that, and it's like, what do you think of him? And he was like, well, he's a normal boxer, and we went to just play with him or whatever. So I mean, to me, that's how do I say?
Dissing you, like dissing what
selection is throwing shade, you know what I mean? Yeah. But you know, I felt like I got the best out of those sparrings. But like, sparring is sparring. Like, but you don't hear me saying, oh, I beat this guy up in sparring. Or sparring. Like, I don't know. But it's just like, if you're gonna talk about the sparring, like, at least tell the truth, you know. And if you don't want to say the whole truth, oh, it was a good sparring, then just say that, you know. So I mean, it's just, I hate liars. Yeah. That's it.
Do you think he's saying that because he has a fight coming up with Terence Crawford and he's kind of trying to move his pieces to set up something with you in the future if he does win?
It's the person asking the questions, because he didn't just go out there and say that. You know, it's the questions being asked. So,
speaking of which, he has a fight coming up August 3rd. How do you see his chances against Terence Crawford? How do you see that fight with him?
See, here's the thing, you know, and it's not a diss to him, because I think he's a good fighter. He's athletic, he hits hard, and he's smart. Crawford's just a different beast. You know, I don't think anyone, except me, in 154 can beat him. You know, it's he's a tough fighter. He's arguably pound for pound number one. You know, you got him, you got Usyk, you got Inoue. You know, those are some tough toss-ups right there for number one. You know, so let's just say he's number one right now. I just don't think that Madrimov beats him. You know, and it's not that I don't think he's a good fighter. I just don't think that he can beat him.
So you've been in there with him sparring-wise. People have said, well, Eddie Hearn is convinced that he's going to upset Terence Crawford. But I've heard others say Madrimov's tricky. He switch hits. He has good footwork. Like, hey, you don't count him out. Like, he has an actual good shot to upset him. You sharing time with him in the ring, like, what's tricky about Madrimov?
Here's the thing about tricks. You see, that's the, how do I say, that's the main part of the word, trick, right? Tricks don't work on Crawford. Yeah. Crawford is smart, you know. He can be tricky as all as you want, but a person like Crawford is going to see through the smoke and mirrors, you know. He knows boxing. He's a master at it, you know, so it's just, and everything else that you described Madrimov, so is Crawford. You know, he's a switch hitter too, you know, have good footwork as well, you know, so it's just kind of like, okay, well, what else does he have? You know, and I just feel like, I don't know, they're trying to convince people that he's not going to beat him. I think they're just trying to make it seem like it's an even fight when it's a competitive fight, which it is a competitive fight, but it's not as even as you think it is. Or they're saying it is. You know what I mean?
You mentioned you feel Crawford's number 154, and then other than you said like, hey, any other guy, no one's gonna be able to beat him except me at 154. Why do you feel that you can beat him? Like, what's a challenge that you possess that he hasn't seen before at this weight?
We just have to wait and see. You know what I mean? I'm very competitive. I have drive, and I'm sure everyone else does too. You know, I don't want to say no one else has that same kind of drive or whatever, and I don't want to say, oh, I'm different, you know, because that just sounds fucking cheesy. So that's why I say you just have to wait and see. You just have to wait and see.
If you are successful with this fight, like, I don't know, which route do you want to go? Like, if you do beat Bohacek, like, do you want to go ahead and be like, you know what, I want your post fight, I want Crawford next, or you kind of just want to wait and see how things settle down?
It really doesn't matter what I say, man. This is from what I've learned from boxing is people, you know, fights just, I don't know. Like I get frustrated.
Damn, bro, you're jaded, bro.
I get frustrated sometimes.
You feel like it doesn't matter if I call someone out, they're not gonna fight me.
I don't want to say that either, because that makes it seem like I'm ducking them, or that they're ducking me. I mean, and it's never that. It's just like sometimes like certain factors come into play. Oh, they just fought. Oh, well, I got mandatory, they got a mandatory. There's just so many factors. It's not people. The fans think, oh, I want to fight you. Yeah, let's fight. All right, bam. Like it doesn't happen like that, you know. I mean, I really don't know what else to say. You know, it's just it doesn't happen like that. You know, fights don't happen like that. You know.
Well, hopefully now they will, with Turkey being involved with everything, where he seems to be making the matchups and stuff. On a final note, Vergil, I know you've been in camp with Rayo. Rayo has this big fight with Pitbull. How do you see that, man? Because a lot of people are excited for that fight style-wise. And why do you feel Rayo is going to upset Pitbull Cruz?
Yeah, so we already know I got Rayo. So, and not even that. I think he has a very good chance of beating him. You know, I think that he's a very strong fighter. He's coming off of a great knockout win, and you know he's working really good. You know, he works really hard, and you know they work on stuff. You know, he's not just hitting the mitts just to hit the mitts. You know, just to sound like you're hitting it hard or whatever. They're working on stuff. You know what I mean? And Pitbull's no slouch. You know, I'm not taking nothing against him at all. You know, it's going to be a very tough fight, but I got Rayo edging it out. Yeah.
No knockout. It goes a decision?
I haven't seen Pitbull hurt. I haven't seen him hurt, so I would say that Rayo edges him out in a competitive fight.
I can't wait for that fight either. It's going to be a good-ass fight. Are you going to be there? I know it's close to your fight.
I'm not going to be there. No.
It's too risky, right?
It's too close.
You get sick.
Exactly. So, yeah.
All right. I know you'll be cheering for him, though, because he's still mate. Vergil, good seeing you, man. Appreciate the time as always. Vergil Ortiz, Marcos Viegas, Fight Up TV.